Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. And we are so excited to have our friend back from Mindful Bamboo. It's exciting today to talk more about what's positive in life and how she's going to help us. Viktoriia Gruzdieva joining us here today. And again, the owner of Mindful Bamboo. She's based out of Harrison, New Jersey, but she's working with people all over the world. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Hey, hi Jill, hi everyone. Thanks for having me today. Yeah, I'm doing great. It's a nice, really warm day in the area. So yeah, great mood and really excited to be here today and to speak to you on a very important topic for our wellness and mindfulness.
I cannot wait to hear about it. And just to confirm, Mindful Bamboo, they provide so many different services to really improve your wellness. And let's point out the website to start.
Right, so the website is mindfulbamboo.com. You will see it's more of a blog, so you will see a lot of information there. There's a contact form and links to my social pages, social media. Also, there is an email address, info.mindful.bamboo@gmail.com. That's the best way to contact me with any questions you have or anything you're looking to get.
Great. So coaching, tarot, mindset, there's a lot to you. And today I know you wanted to talk a little about the life calling, right? And finding the most synergetic occupation. Could you talk a little bit about that and give us the background on it and why it's really relevant, Viktoriia?
Yes, so I feel this is something that could be of interest to many people and on many different levels, because we'll approach these kind of questions, more seriously sometimes, and sometimes more of a kind of like, I want to spruce my life up, I want to try something different. But the more, and especially the more I get this with my clients and with people I coach, that the more you kind of expand your horizons and your consciousness, the more you're trying to improve the quality of your life, the more the question comes up of, is whatever I'm doing and I'm spending my time on, is that the good use of my time? Is that something that I'm excited about, that makes me happy? And then the questions start come up of like, well, if it's not, what is it? Or maybe I could add something to what I'm currently doing, because whether we like it or not, we often focus our life around our careers, our jobs. We move around the country or in different places because of a good job opportunity. It's not as much of a case these days, but it's still a big deal. And we want to succeed, we want to have some recognition. That takes a lot of energy and a lot of time. So you might as well spend that on, that time and effort on something that you truly believe in and something that excites you day after day. Otherwise, with time, it's going to become a burden. And of course, it's okay to have a job and, to be satisfied because you can pay your bills and support your family. And that's a good reasoning for it. But even if you don't want to change your life drastically, at least you probably would want to look out for something that you can do in your spare time or outside of the job that will provide you that potential fulfillment and just overall emotional fulfillment that you may not necessarily have at work. Where a lot of people go under a lot of stress at work because of all the pressure, because of how important it is. Even in psychology, in the Maslow pyramid, job is actually has very high importance because it provides a lot of all these kind of basic needs. It provides a sense of security and so on, so many levels. So it's not just about being content with, being able to buy what you want. It's on a psychological level, it's something that we care about a lot. So that's why it becomes a point of stress and pressure a lot of times. And if you add to it the nature of work, where you have a lot of responsibility, for example, or you are in an executive position, it becomes even harder. That's why I feel it's so important to be able to find that haven or safety haven in your life where you can be yourself and explore who you are.
Now, you can guide people to this because people say they don't really know, but everybody has an innate quality, something that gives them passion. So you can help bring that to the forefront, right? And you asked the question, then what's next?
Yes, yes. So there are a few ways, and the few ways that I'm using, of course, there are many more that I would like to speak about on how to discover what it is. If you know that you want to try something new, but you have no idea where to start,
Mm-hmm.
or you have some hesitance about it, right? Because it's also like it's a step number one, of course, to acknowledge that, but then another brave step is to actually try out something new. And it's a little bit easier if you already know some people who are doing it. Like for example, you have a friend that is into, I don't know, paragliding, and you're like, yeah, I really want to try that. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And you at least have somebody who you can share that with and who can support you with it. But if it's something completely different that nobody in your surrounding is doing, or it's something very different from what you are used to, which I think is even more exciting to a certain extent, but that's where it gets a little bit harder to move on your own. And that's where those additional tools may be of help.
Got it. And also, a lot of us are fearful, have anxiety, and how do you get through that part of it all, and that whole fear and negativity, negative self-talk even.
Yes, yes. So unfortunately, when I talk to people and we get to the bottom of them wanting to do stuff, but then not doing it, and unfortunately, a lot of times um, they kind of stop pursuing it at the very beginning. So a lot of times they don't even give themselves space and time to try it out, to experiment, to see how it feels. And yeah, a lot of it is connected to even negative self-talk. So of course, it's important for like when you have support of the loved ones, of people around you who are like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
go for it. Of course, this is great. You're doing it. And that may or may not be there. But a lot of times, even we ourselves, we have the doubt because we're stepping outside of our comfort zone a lot of times. And of course, depending on how dramatic that change is, right, of how risky it is, or how much do you need to invest in it, how much it's going to change your life,
Yeah.
it can become more difficult to actually, have that courage to go for it, to try it out. So I would say if it's something that, I mean, the main actually two main aspects here. First of all is, of course, remembering what your passion is about and why you got interested in it. I would recommend, writing it down, putting it somewhere where you can see it. And if you get new points that you can think of, you can add them to the list where you can always get that extra jolt of inspiration of like, yes, but I really was into it because XYZ, and you can remind yourself quickly when you're having those moments of anxiety or fear. Another aspect of it is if it's people around you. So if it's
You got to
something that
surround
you're
yourself with positive people, right?
yeah, and somebody who will kind of support you on the journey. If it's something that you're learning from someone, you're actually taking classes or courses, it's very important of who that person is,
Mm-hmm.
who is guiding you through it, that you have the same vibe, that you feel that, it's really inspiring you and it's getting you more, like getting you further on that path. Even on the emotional level, if it's somebody, sometimes people don't gel well, they have different
Mm-hmm.
personalities, it's best to try somebody else, find someone who you can really connect to and who you will feel comfortable with moving through this. If it's not the case, at least it's important to have somebody as part of your kind of support group or start networking. For me, for example, it was an experience when I started dancing. And it's not like, I mean, I actually had some friends who were dancing back at the uni days, but we weren't really in touch anymore. So I was starting completely from scratch. I didn't know anyone, and it was scary at first. But I understood quickly how important it is to start connecting with people. And I mean, of course, there is a teacher, but regardless of that, it's important to find somebody who is on the same journey, who you can, connect to, and you can share your impressions. I don't know, complain even about some things, but you can kind of hold each other accountable, but also keep it more interesting when you have that and you're not feeling like you're just moving through it alone. Because we are social creatures, right? So
Yep.
it's important to have that someone who you will be making it exciting for the both of you mutually, and that's really important, I find.
And
Of
we
course,
haven't, right? With COVID, we've been unsocial. We've been so tricked and trained with our mask and to stay away from people and distance. And how has that affected us, our mentality and our mindset, Viktoriia?
yeah, I would say that yes, it was. It shifted our perspective a lot into like more of introspective vision, and kind of like not relying as much on like physical communication with people, face-to-face communication. But I would say that from my experience, my own experience, and people I'm talking to, is still created. It was like a kind of like a quiet time for a while, and now it created even more hunger for being connected, for creating that community, even if it's online, if it's virtual. But it's still important to kind of have that network of people around you, so that you don't otherwise it's basically it creates a more of kind of narrow-minded vision, I would say, especially if you're pursuing something completely new for yourself, because there's obviously a lot of things you don't necessarily know, or you don't understand at first. So it's so much, it means so much to be able to share that experience and to kind of connect on those points where you may be struggling, or you want to kind of validate what's happening with you with somebody else.
Got it. Wow. And could you talk a little bit about some of the things you can do to help people, some techniques help you find your calling? You mentioned astrology, natal chart, major placements. Can you talk about that?
Yes, yes. So I have a few ideas for different people depending on what you're leaning towards. Astrology, I find it is a very powerful tool, actually. The natal chart, yes, the major placements that basically tell us. So that's, in a nutshell, it's the placement of planets and main planetary bodies at the time when you were born. And that kind of predefines certain inclinations, certain skills, and even certain lessons that we're learning in this life, or we should be learning. And I would point out two major items here. So first is the north and south node of the moon. They're mathematical points, actually not planets as such, but it is something that's calculated, and it's a fascinating topic, and I'm sure you can look it up online, a lot more in it. But in a nutshell, basically the North Node, it's like the connection of this concept of the North Star. Basically, it's like a guidance star to where you're going. It's and astrologers believe that it's really your mission. It's something that you're pursuing in this life that's going to give you the most benefit, the most outcome, the most content and realization, that self-actualization that psychologists talk about. That's like the most of it. But the problem, of course, in finding what that is. Some of us are luckier than others. And that's why this information is very useful, because it's giving you some direction and some guidance. And the this spoiler alert, it's not going to be something that you're necessarily is easy for you. It may not be something that you can think of like the first thing on your mind. A lot of times it's something, like I was saying, outside of your comfort zone, and something that you're supposed to discover for yourself. But eventually will become, that success for you personally, and socially, and even globally. The South Node is kind of the opposite sign, so it would be like a zodiac sign. Is something that that is your comfort zone, that you feel comfortable in. And a lot of times intuitively, again, because of how psychology works, we kind of find our jobs within that comfort level, because it's something that we understand, that comes to us easily, and we use those skills to build that career. But and I mean, everybody can analyze it for themselves, of course, but I find that from astrology point of view, though, that's a really important point. Another one is a Chiron, so it's like an asteroid, and there is also, like, if you look up at your natal chart on the websites, usually they give you Chiron placement, and that is like your weakness. This is the point where you may have experienced some painful experiences, some trauma, but that's in essence, and that's another idea for, food for thought really is the hardships and the challenges that we overcome eventually become our strengths, because that's usually the
Wow.
topics that we become experts in,
True.
that we dive deeper into to overcome those challenges. And that's eventually a lot of times is what the world basically needs you to share, because if you've learned something useful and valuable, then of course there are people out there that want to know more and that you can help.
Let me ask you this. Now, just a little bit about yourself for new listeners out there today and viewers. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved in this and just about your childhood, because you've always had this intuitive gift in a sense, right?
Yes, I did. And I mean, my family wasn't, I wouldn't say that they were particularly supportive of this. So it was almost like my own learning experience and journey of, just, for example, being very intuitive, being able to read on what's going on with people around me. And you can see it even more promptly when people are trying to hide it. And it could be for a good reason, but it's almost like sometimes you can feel this wall, that the real person is out there, but you cannot really connect with them. On the other hand, I also felt I was really into teaching and spreading knowledge, and a lot of games that I played were about that. So at least my parents knew that I would want to do something with teaching for my career. So they kind of supported me that way, and that was good. But in terms of all this kind of more of a spiritual and esoteric side of it, I didn't get too much into it until my teens and until I started taking up philosophy and psychology, and I kind of fell into it, and I found so many answers in my life to what I was going through, both the good and the bad, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of started digging deeper into that. And then there was another, I don't know, 5 to 10 years where it was more of my self-discovery journey. And I mean, it was still a different time where we didn't have as much information and didn't have as many opportunities to really make it into a career, make it into something that you can do full time. So it was definitely beneficial for myself. And I would say for anyone who is interested, if you're only interested to do it for yourself, that's already a big deal, right? Because that's our priority, no matter what, is to heal ourselves, to help ourselves be happy. And only then you can truly do the same for other people, with the love and kindness that you will have in your heart, because that's how you're going to feel. So that was still valid, but I'm so glad that I came around and there was another cycle of challenges and healing that brought me closer to this, and kind of got more into tarot. Wow. And astrology and mentoring side of it. And I realized that, I mean, I would say the main reason of how you know that it's something that's your calling is that you're really curious, you're really excited about it. And that's why in one of our previous conversations, I mentioned the childhood memories and things you like to do as a child, because as children, we don't have as many society filters on top of is it something
go for what you want? You just do it without even thinking. And what people are going to say, worry about, it's just an innocent way of thinking and just so pure.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very important to be able to kind of go back into the journey and see more into it. And even now, I mean, I've done a lot of that going back, but even now I'm still remembering certain specific episodes where there was something exciting that I tried doing, I wanted to do, and I'm like, well, now it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
How it kind of translated into my life. But yeah, unfortunately, it's not as, as adults, we don't feel as much freedom just naturally. So it's important to have different ways of opening up to ourselves, really.
Great. And what else did you want to share with our listeners today, Viktoriia?
Yes, so a couple more things on finding your calling. So on my blog, I actually have an article about Ikigai exercise, and you can, if you're interested, you can read up some more information. But essentially, you're kind of doing a brainstorming exercise of putting up sticky notes of different colors on things, basically things you like doing, things you're good at, things that can make me money, and things that the world needs, that you feel like this is something that will be useful for the society. And a lot of things could be overlapping, so it's okay if you have some repetitions between these, but it basically helps you conceptualize of all the different things that are out there that you're interested in, and find the most kind of efficient intersections, and kind of know what to focus on, because sometimes people have a lot of different ideas and they're not sure where to start, what is going to be number one, number two. So it really helps you prioritize for yourself. And last but not least, it's a lot more kind of from the business and corporate world is intrinsic motivation. And I actually have a couple of exercises that I do for, it's a game, basically. It's a game experience where there is a list of different motivators, and we kind of rank them, and I'm helping the person to acknowledge what those things are, because and that surprised me myself when I started doing it for myself, I don't know, some 5 or 10 years ago. It's a concept from Management 3.0 that I love using, but it's basically, for example, I love my job, right? And actually the corporate job I had, I was happy there, and I sincerely felt like it was something I was meant to do, and I was completely happy. But it still took me some thinking to get around what exactly was exciting about it. Not just on paper, but for myself. And there you can go to like whether you like connecting with people, whether public acknowledgement is important to you, whether you want to be able to be a scientist and explore something at your job and discover something and things like that. So there is a number of items that you can analyze for yourself, and that also helps you understand what kind of activities you'd be interested in, what will be useful. But that's also for when you have no idea where to start. You want to do something different in your life, bring up some more excitement and joy, but you don't know where to start. That could be a good place for it.
Well, also, if someone reaches out to you, is there an initial conversation you can have? Is there an initial consultation you'll do with them?
Yes. So as always, with my new clients, I have an intro call, 20 to 30 minutes that we will do, and I'll ask you some questions to understand what you're looking for and how I can best serve you. And I will offer a few ideas of how I see the person can benefit from our time together.
I mean, there's so much that you blog about and talk about. It's mindfulbamboo.com, just to point out the website. And you're into meditation, you're talking about self-love, dropping your fear. What else did you have in mind? We still have 6 minutes left in the show. So Viktoriia, the platform is yours.
Yeah, so I feel that like speaking about this topic specifically, that it's very important to allow yourself to even be in that space. So I would say, even if you're listening now and you feel like this is not for me, I'm completely happy with everything that's going on in my life, love my job, love the way I'm spending my time, everything's perfect, it's still useful from time to time to do this exercise for yourself, where like any of the ideas I mentioned, maybe you have something of your own. For some people, it's getting together with friends and kind of like catching up on things and sharing those kind of feelings or concerns or whatever. But it's important to go there, because it always provides some ideas for making your life more colorful and bright and fulfilling for yourself. Because we do get, in no matter how many like hobbies or jobs or occupations you have, with time it should be revisioned, and I call it the inventory. I do this inventory for myself from time to time, just on everything that I do, to kind of, because there's a lot of times we're so busy, there's so much hustle in our life that we don't necessarily stop and think about, like, is this still worth doing? Am I still enjoying it? And the same goes actually with people and relationships and time that we put in with people. So it's useful to go over those things and kind of see, for example, I don't know, I took up some drama classes a year ago, right? is it still something that I expected it to be? Am I happy here? And it doesn't mean that you will necessarily drop it, but maybe you will think about giving it, a new spin, maybe trying a class with a different teacher, or scheduling some sort of performance, even if it's for your friends and family, to see how you're doing there. It's still bringing in some new fresh energy into it. And you will think that it's just about work and occupation and mission. Of course, it has to do with being useful for people, and I feel that on some level it's part of intrinsic motivation for all of us anyway. But it also provides so much for your physical health, for the way your brain thinks, even if it's something that's completely different from your, if we're talking about a hobby that is different for your main occupation. It enhances those areas of life as well. Of course, it definitely enhances your communication with your family and friends. And I can guarantee that if you start pursuing those ideas and dreams, that they will see a difference as well. Hopefully they'll be supportive of that. But that's another part of life, that if certain things or people are not vibing with you anymore, and you're not on the same page, then you should accept that and at least kind of release that person and move on, rather than just trying to hang on to it because the person has been with you for 10 years. So it's important to stay together. I feel that that's another big item in our lives that where we have a lot of work to do. It's like work in progress. And oftentimes we have the best intentions, but sometimes things don't work out. We're at different places on different energy levels. It's all quantum physics, it's all energy. But every experience and person is supposed to add some value to our life, whether it's emotional or practical, right? But it's supposed to enhance it in some way. And if it's not doing that, then you're reverting the process. So it's not like there is no zero energy. It's either positive or negative. So if it's not adding value, then it's definitely taking away something from you.
Well, thank you so much. And at this time, unfortunately, we got to get ready to say goodbye. Tell us how we can reach out to you, please.
Right. So the best way to reach out is through my email address, which is info.mindful.bamboo@gmail.com. There's also a phone number, 646-8844-209. There's a contact us form on my website. There are also links to my social media pages. Among the social media, I would recommend my Facebook page. It's called Mindful Bamboo Wisdom. Of course, you can contact me through that page as well. And yeah, you can follow me. You can follow my YouTube channel for new content, for the updates. And I always welcome any feedback from listeners and viewers, and we can create that content together.
Great. So mindfulbamboo.com. How do we find you on social media?
So my Facebook page is Mindful Bamboo Wisdom. If you search for it, it's usually, and the address is, I think it's at mindful.bamboo. Very simple. There's also an Instagram page, but it's my personal page. So that's for somebody who wants to follow my journey. And there is also a link on the website that you can find. The YouTube channel is Mindful Bamboo. So I would actually recommend checking it out. A lot of it is around kind of astrology and doing some tarot readings right now, but I will definitely be adding more stuff. There is a separate playlist about mindfulness. I'll be adding more content to it in the coming months. So definitely check it out. And it's somewhere where you can see me, connect with me on the regular basis.
Well, thank you for being here, for joining us, for enlightening us, and really looking forward to the next time we get to speak. She looks so gorgeous. For those of you just listening on the podcast, you got to check out. She's on Zoom too with us today. So she looks beautiful in her background, making me feel warm, ready for the spring and summer weather, which is coming soon our way, right? It's a little warm in the Northeast today. We'll give it that. But I want to go on vacation. Thank you so much, sweetheart. Have a great day. And to all of our listeners, we appreciate you. Stay tuned.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.